this station, we are going to discuss the principle of scale. So whenever we are talking about scale, we are referring to the size of an object, or it could be the size of a room, whether it's large or small or even medium. We use the word scale. So in the definition, it says the overall size, such as the largeness or smallness of a room, an object, or a pattern. Scale is about the object's visual weight. So when you look at the object, does it look like it weighs a lot, or does it look like it weighs just a little? And that usually is created by how thick maybe the arms are, or how big the wood piece is, or whatever it may be. But again, when we talk about scale, we're referring to the size. And as it says in the first bullet underneath the definition, it says it deals with the actual and relative size and visual weight. Words used to describe scale are small, light, medium, large, and heavy. Scale of furnishings should relate to the space they occupy to be visually pleasing. And this is where scale and proportion can very often get confused. Again, scale is when you're talking about a specific object or like a pattern and the scale size, or you're referring to one thing. Whereas proportion you'll learn about is where you're comparing an object to another space or another object. But if you were to have a giant room, let's say for example, you wouldn't want a small scale table. You would probably want a large scale table so that it does seem proportionate to the space. Scale of furnishings also applies to the size of the person using the item. So let's look at this room. This is a large foyer with a very large scale door, so that seems very appropriate for the space. They've got a relatively large table in the center. If this was a tiny table, that would look awkward. They've got a larger chandelier in the center as well to fill that space, to make it not feel weird, I guess you could say. So it says the entryway is very large, and so the large door matches very well. The large table and chandelier are perfect here. If there was a little table with a small lamp, it would look strange because of the scale. So let's look at these three spaces. So right here, we've got a very large wall, and you'll notice there is a large scale picture right here on this wall space. If they would have had a little picture right here in the middle, that would have looked strange. It would not have looked right. You can also put several different pieces of artwork together to have a grouping that gives the visual image that it's a larger piece, the visual weight that there's more there than there really is. When we look at this middle picture, you have this rock wall, which appears heavy, okay? So you need something substantial on it or in front of it. So they've got this console that is sturdy, and it has the visual appearance that it's probably heavy, as well as that mirror. It's very full. Yes, the mirror portion is small, but it's got the frame that appears heavy. So it all kind of goes together. The scale goes together. You'll notice we have a small entryway over here. So if we would have put a large, big table or entry table here, it would have looked awkward. So the scale of this table would be considered small scale because you have the small legs on there and the small top surface, which gives it the appearance that it's smaller in scale. And finally, we have these four pictures. If we were to look at this first picture, I want you to think, would you consider that sofa large scale, small scale, medium scale? Think about that for a second. if you were thinking large scale, that was correct. So it's got the heavy arms and back, takes up a lot of space. The visual weight appears heavy of this item. So if we're referring to this, and it's a larger room, so it seems appropriate in the space. Same with this picture right here. We've definitely got a larger room here. So we have a large scale sofa, a larger scale, I guess we could call it a table or an ottoman here in the center. And then we go to this room right here, and this looks like a smaller bedroom. So you've got smaller scale furniture, a smaller scale chandelier, two smaller scaled beds. And in this space, again, a pretty large space. So you have larger scale furniture, larger scale television in this area to make it seem appropriate. Again, if you would have had a tiny TV up here on the wall, it would look weird. If you had a tiny rug in the middle of this room, it would appear weird. So there is the principle of scale.